Hi Michelle, thanks so much for coming to join us today to talk about ARFID. So I thought if it's all right, I'll just start by talking a little bit about how we met each other, and then we've got some questions to ask you. So,
Thank you for
so we
having
met
me.
because we're developing an app called Jam Up, which helps autistic children and children with additional needs with daily tasks. So at the moment, it supports them using sort of virtual pets and gamification with getting dressed and cleaning teeth. And it's available to download on app stores. But we contacted you because we've been going through the National Autistic Society kite mark process. And one of the parents there was really keen that we developed a hydration task or a sort of drinking task to help her son. And my son struggles with drinking as well. And in the development phases, we wanted to ensure that we didn't inadvertently make anything any more difficult for anyone experiencing ARFID that might be using Jam Up. So I know that you're a really active kind of patient parent advocate around this, and so we met and you gave us some really helpful strategies and things to think about for as we're developing that aspect.
Yeah, no, and it's really cool because I do think it's important to have that input. I think it kind of, there's so many different reasons why people might not drink or eat or whatever, isn't there? So it's always good to cover everything.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and
Mhm.
yeah, and you had some really great ideas and things, which we're really looking forward to adding in there. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant.
But we wanted to talk, if that was all right, a bit about your sort of experiences as well, because we know that a lot of our families and young people are also experiencing ARFID or are having sort of daily challenges or struggles that they don't totally understand. So I was hoping you could maybe describe kind of in your own words what ARFID is, maybe for someone who doesn't really know anything about it.
Yeah, so ARFID stands for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. It was added into the DSM-5 criteria in 2013. And I always think for me, I think when you're living with eating difficulties, you always get hit with like it's fussy eating. Whereas I think with ARFID, it's like the opposite end of the scale. I always kind of saw my son's eating as like extreme. I was always kind of like, he had such an extreme response to food. I was a bit like, this isn't just normal. This isn't fussy eating. So it's kind of driven by three subtypes. So there's the sensory side. So it could be the texture, the taste, the color of the food, even the color of the packaging. Sort of they might only lean towards one certain brand. The temperature as well is a really important thing. Like, they might only have cold food, they might not have hot food, they might only like it lukewarm. Same with fluid, it works across both food and drink. And then there's that kind of how they feel around food, as in like a fear. So they could worry that they're going to get tummy pains or if they're going to be sick. It could be that they've had an episode of sickness, or maybe they've caught a food bug or something like that, which has then created a sickness bug that then can actually stop them from eating because they then worry and they put the connection for two and two together. For us, with our son, he actually had tonsillitis and he blamed his throat for hurting from the food, actually, rather than the tonsillitis. So he was scared of swallowing because he just thought, well, food hurts, but it wasn't, it was his throat. And yeah, and then the last one is the lack of interest. You tend to find with ARFID, they will go hungry, they won't eat eventually. They won't eat something else, I don't know, if you had 2 pounds of biscuits, they wouldn't eat the other one, they would just go hungry and potentially starve. And yeah, I find personally, if I don't remind my son that he's got to eat, he won't eat at all, which obviously is just because he's not interested in it. He thinks we're quite weird for eating.
Oh, thanks. And sort of looking back, what were the first sort of signs or behaviours? I know you just said about the tonsillitis, but that you
Yeah.
recognised or made you wonder if
So
your son had ARFID.
I think with us, it was definitely the sensory side. So he was always a sensory based baby. He hated having his hair washed. He hated brushing his teeth. He hated his hands being dirty. He just never liked anything on him that was just felt slimy. And then when the food started, he was fine with purees and he was fine with ones I'd made. But as soon as we kind of went on to like finger foods or things that were lumpy and bumpy, he just wouldn't touch them. And I was a bit like, oh, he's my second child, that I kind of like, well, I've done this before, like it should be similar. And straight away, I was just like, why would he touch that? And he kind of had a lot of like a disgust response. So like we tried a couple of times with like the lumpy and bumpy textures, and he would just stick his tongue out and pull funny faces or throw it, which I know kids do throw food. But it was kind of like the way he was responding to it was different to a kid just launching something across the room. I was a bit like, there's something else. So he's kind of the sensory side is what started first. He was very kind of, he would eat foods that was easy to swallow, easy to suck on, basically. Nothing really too crunchy. And then, yeah, I think he was about 3, he had tonsillitis. And at that point, I think he was only eating 7 or 8 foods. So it wasn't a lot. Um, all the same thing, like biscuits and crisps and wafers, all the same texture, all very soft. And then he caught tonsillitis. And because of that throat pain, he just couldn't put the 2 and 2 together. And he dropped all of his foods and then just lived off milk and yogurt. So as he's gone on over time, he has kind of, he does tick all the boxes. It's just taken obviously that time to get to that point where I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. I think this is ARFID.
And when it came to kind of getting help, what sort of support were you able to get, and what, how did you find them? What's made the biggest difference to you?
I think being honest, it's been really, really, really tough. My son is now 6 and I only got help earlier this year. So we'd kind of been looking for support ever since he was most probably around 12, 18 months old. I think I started that journey of, something's not right with his eating, kind of got picked up on his 2-year check. They kind of picked up the motor skills and stuff weren't there. And obviously the feeding part massively skyrocketed it. I think the thing I find is unfortunately there isn't much support out there. I think there is, it's just really, really hard to find it. And you really have to push and push and push and don't take no for an answer. But I think the best thing that I've found is finding someone that gets it, finding that community of someone that just goes, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, being able to ring someone and being like, they've touched a crisp. A friend that I've had for years will be like, I don't get why that's so exciting. But when you're living with ARFID, the smallest progress and the smallest steps actually are the biggest wins, because actually that's just the tiniest little step forward for them. But it is definitely finding someone that understands. And even within the services, there is people out there, go to your GP, go to your health visitor, but do your own research. A lot of the things that I've done, it's been off my own back. I've had to do it. I've had to do courses off, I wanted to, because I wanted to understand. And it has helped me hugely. And at least then when I have gone to professionals and got to that point where someone's understood, I also have my good side of the story, which then you get taken more seriously.
Yeah, because I guess you're better able to kind of advocate for his needs because
Yes.
you understand them more in the absence of
Yeah.
being able to find
And I th-
help.
and I think ARFID is so complex. Every single person is so different, whether you're a child or an adult. I think you really do need to kind of find out what is triggering them, like what their properties to ARFID is, so that when you do go to the appointment, you can be like, this is that, rather than them trying to find it out. You want to be like one step ahead.
Thanks. And if you were able to share sort of maybe 3 practical tips with another parent who's maybe sort of
Yeah.
started this journey, what would you suggest to them?
I think firstly is most probably start writing everything down. Write down what their intake is, kind of how it differs day to day. I always find if he's not very well, his intake drops, which obviously can be quite worrying. But then if you was to work it out over a week, he's most probably still getting the same stuff. Videos, and I also found taking pictures, which I know is really hard, but it gives hard evidence so that when you do go to services, you've kind of got a bit of a backup. Because unfortunately, he's still so misunderstood that sometimes you do just get sent off with fussies and guidance that you want to be like, no, this is what ARFID is, this is the criteria, this is how he is, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it does help to kind of note stuff down. I think the second thing would be just remove all pressure and expectations. They're not going to set up the table because you want them to. They're not going to eat a different food because you want them to. Just strip it back. Let them eat what they want to eat as and when they want to eat, whether that's upside down on the sofa, whether that's in their bedroom, whether it is up the table with you, but just have absolutely no pressure on them eating. And it is a really hard thing to swing your mind around. I think you become a parent and you're programmed to feed, you're programmed to have dinner, you're programmed to make family meals. So it is very hard to strip that back and not, and really potentially in a way, ignore a child around eating. But actually, it's the best thing we ever did as a family, because now he does sit up at the table because I'm not asking him to. He chooses to sit with us because he knows there's no pressure to eat. So that is, and it helps lower their anxiety, which obviously is a huge thing.
Yeah, so
Um,
taking those kind of demands away, I
yeah,
guess, like,
massively. And I think when ARFID goes hand in hand with autism, especially maybe a child that's got PDA, as we all know, you can't get them to do something that you want them to do. And it just, the demands then create more problems or more anxiety and meltdowns. And so just to strip it all back, it helps massively. And I can honestly say it's helped us hugely, which is obviously, my main thing is yes, I would absolutely love my son to eat, but if he can be comfortable around food that we could go out for a picnic or we could pop to somewhere for dinner, that's more of a win for me because then it's like our family life is less stressful and then the
mm,
food will potentially come in time. And then I think the third thing is just talk about it. I bottled it up for such a long time that it was eating me alive. And I think by speaking to people and really most probably setting up my social media and finding other people that actually are going through the same thing is worth more than anything in this world. I've made friends for life through it. We've had days out together because we just get it. If we're all sat there and they don't want to sit there and eat, that's fine. Go wherever you like. There's no judgment. I don't think I have a judgment or bone in my body. I think it is just finding someone that you can speak to openly, whether it's you need a good cry, you need a good rant, you need to ask advice, especially with services. I think sometimes when you're in such a brain fog and you're so stressed, you can't think about something that potentially is quite a simple solution. And I found that. And at the time, I didn't have someone to talk to. Whereas now I can see other people being like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, just stop, sit, put the kettle on, relax for 5 minutes, and think about what you want to get out of it. Think of one thing and focus on that one thing, whether that is contacting your MP, for instance, or trying to get hold of the local service, or, just focus on one thing at a time. We're not superheroes. You can't do everything at once. It is really just taking that step back and focus on one thing at a time.
oh, thanks. Yeah, and I think you're so it's so true, isn't it? Like sometimes friends and family just don't understand, however supportive they are, because unless you've
Yeah,
gone through these kind of experiences, they're really difficult to understand, aren't they? So
they are
yeah,
really difficult. And I think even for friends and family, you can explain it till you're blue in the face. I still don't think they completely get it. And that's okay, I most probably still can't completely get it because I think, for me, I'd love eating. It's
yeah.
mad how your brain can function that way. But yeah, it is, you've got to find them people.
Oh, and definitely, I think the stigma around is really still quite difficult as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
With lots of these things when it comes to children's sort of behaviour and things, lots of people have got their own
The
thoughts that they like to
judgment is,
voice too.
and the judgment's quite intense when it comes to eating. Very
Yeah.
intense.
Well, thank you. And I guess finally, if you were sort of, yeah, a parent or carer who's feeling really overwhelmed at this moment in time around this, what might you suggest to them?
That it's okay to feel that way. I was driving yesterday and for no apparent reason, I burst into tears. I just had a moment, and it's okay to have these moments. And I think bottling it up makes it harder. I think you've got to allow the emotions at that time. And I actually think for me, for us to get to this point of where we are within the services, which has taken a very long time, I think we're only there because I used my overwhelm and my anger, and it got something in the pit of my tummy. And I was like, I'm not standing for this. Like, you can't tell me no, there's no help because he deserves it. Like, everyone deserves support. And yeah, just you're not alone. I think there is so many people out there, which I didn't know at the time, that are going through the same thing. You're not alone. You're not the only person dealing with it. And yeah, just advocate hard, even with school. It's a tough journey. It really isn't easy, but I think a lot of people most probably don't realize that even just by speaking to someone, they're doing so much without realizing, just having that one conversation can make you feel so much lighter. And then going forward, yeah, it's just important to remember that you're doing everything you can.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. And yeah, thank you so much for all the work you're doing to help so many families and yeah, taking the time to speak with us today
Okay.
when
It's been
we
a
know how
pleasure.
busy you are. So yeah, thank you. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, if anyone is interested in finding out more about Jam Up, you can find out more on our website, which is www.jamup.io.